Welcome back to the Constitution Line by Line. I'm Paul Fabrizio.
I'm Don Frazier, and you're going to notice in this one that the tone has kind of shifted because we're in Article 3.
Yeah, judicial power.
Yes, and we are now in Section 3. So we've gotten rid of all the jurisdiction sort of things, and now this is kind of what we're going to define as various issues that might arise before our courts.
Right, and what's interesting is this will be the second time already in the Constitution this issue has come up, and it's treason.
Yeah. So hit us. What's our line?
Okay, treason. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. Treason must have been a big deal to these framers.
Absolutely.
All those Tories you were talking about.
Well, sure, and they're not convicted for treason against the United States. They just have their property seized and kicked out of the country. But I'm wondering.
Good.
Because Civil War comes to mind.
Okay.
And I'm just at a loss to see very many treason cases that came out of even that.
Okay.
But what if they're adhering to an enemy that is not an enemy by declaration of war? What if they're American Taliban?
Okay. Do you notice the American Taliban who's about to be released from prison? He served his time.
Yeah.
I don't believe he was charged with treason.
Yeah, correct. That's my point. Is that, but what about someone who is working for a terrorist organization that's an American citizen that we just unilaterally dump a Hellfire missile on?
Okay, we kill them, but we don't charge them with treason.
Well, but we don't charge them with treason, yeah. So we essentially violate any sort of right they might have ever had.
Right. We violated their Bill of Rights.
Yeah, we violated so many things in the Constitution.
But we aren't charging them with treason.
But they're not treasonous. So
right.
Why are we killing them?
Edward Snowden. This man stole millions and millions of digital documents from the United States.
Yeah.
They're published, so they're available to our enemies. He, of course, is in Russia.
But no enemy in particular.
No enemy in particular. And he hasn't been charged with anything because he's overseas. But if he were to come back to the United States, would he be charged with treason? Are there two witnesses to the same overt act?
Huh.
Are there any witnesses if you just stick a little flash drive in the computer and walk out with it and nobody sees you do it?
Well, this is a really tough threshold to get across.
Right, and the other thing is that it's surprisingly specific.
Yeah.
This definition shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. So in other words, Congress can't come along and add to that definition.
Correct. So treason is pretty tough to prove. I'll give you an example, however, where it was proven. Or at least they decided it was proven.
Okay.
All right. There were a large number of Irish immigrants that enlisted in the United States Army because they'd come from Ireland where the potato famine was going on, came over to the U.S., they're met with all sorts of what we would call racist opposition today. Irish need not apply for this job. No Irish here. There's a long and convoluted history of racism in the United States, and it included against Irish immigrants. So a bunch of these guys jumped into the Army thinking, well, in Great Britain, that was a mechanism for social mobility, and it was 3 hots and a cot. But they jumped into the American Army, and guess what they faced?
Racism?
Same sort of, ethnic animosity because of their Irish heritage, their Catholic faith, etc. When this American Army, which is heavily leavened with Irish immigrants, cannon fodder, goes down to the Mexican border in 1846, the Mexicans go, hey, how's that working out for you, Mick? Patty, how do you like hanging with the Americans?
And come and join us at church.
Because you can come right over here and come to Mass with us, and we'll all be friends.
Yeah.
And so they start luring a bunch of these Irish guys into the Mexican army.
Wow.
And the Mexicans actually form what they call the San Patricio Battalion, the St. Patrick's Battalion. Yeah. They had enough of them, though, to form an entire battalion. So this is not a onesie and twosie thing. This is, scores of them coming over. And so the San Patricio Battalion fights in the defense of Mexico City against the United States Army.
Oh, my.
And is overrun, beat up, and its leaders captured.
And charged with treason?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what they were charged with specifically, but I think they may have been. But this is tricky because this is an executive branch. It's the Army.
Right. And
these guys are all caught under arms against the United States, and they hang them.
Yeah.
So clearly looking at, everybody saw you do it, and you were giving aid and comfort to our enemy, and you're actually waging war against the United States. And they waited to hang them until the American flag was flying over Chapultepec Castle, I think. I mean, they were making them watch. We're going to win this thing, and you guys bet on the wrong horse, and we're sorry you're disgruntled, but we're going to stretch your neck.
Yeah.
But before we do that, you can see Old Glory go up the pole.
Yeah, the last thing you'll see.
That's right.
Is the flag that you disowned.
That's exactly right. So that's kind of a headline example of treason that was probably a little easier to prove if they went through the correct judicial process.
Right.
Can't really speak to that.
Yeah. When I think of treason, I think of post-World War II, the Rosenberg.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think of Robert Hansen, the FBI agent who was the spy for Russia.
Yes.
Aldrich Ames.
Were they ever tried for treason?
That's the whole thing. Treason is such a difficult thing to prove. I'm not sure that they were actually tried for
They'd
treason.
hang some other charge on them.
Yeah.
Tax evasion.
Yeah, there's so many other things you can charge somebody with.
But Rosenberg's fried.
Yes, they did. And Robert Hansen, he didn't. He's still in federal prison.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife, I believe, gets a government pension that he earned from his time working for the U.S. government as an FBI agent.
Oh, wow.
So,
there was a number of Americans that supported the Nazis.
okay,
And actually
beyond the famous ones.
Yeah, I'm like they would take their P-38 and fly it into German lines and deliver that up the airplane and actually fly for the Luftwaffe. A couple, very rare instances, but that actually happened in World War II.
Did they get captured afterward and charged with treason?
I think they did, but I don't know if they were ever charged with treason.
Yeah.
This treason thing is tricky in American history.
Yeah, and you had said this on an earlier episode. We're quick to label people treasonous. We're quick to say that's treason.
Yeah.
But the reality
the president's a traitor.
Yeah.
The speaker's a traitor.
Yeah. But the reality is when you look at it, no, it's a very, very limited thing and difficult to prove.
And they specifically said, here's what it is, and it ain't anything else.
And you can't change it, Congress.
So, if you're watching the network news or any other news outlet or Pinch to Face or any other social media, and people are saying so-and-so is treasonous, you need to go back to the original document and see if they meet this test.
Yeah.
If not, you're just telling stories.
Yeah. All right. Now, when we come back, our next one is going to be about punishment for treason.
Now we'll figure out those necks were stretched legally.
We'll see.
All right, so that's our line. We'll pick that up next time.